We are speaking today with David Dunworth of Marketing Partners. He is an expert in the area of marketing and on entrepreneurship. The subject is the subject of niche or target market. So first of all, I would like to say welcome, David. Welcome to Spirit of Business Success. We are a group of entrepreneurs who are seeking to find and create more excellence in our businesses and our workplaces.
Well, great. Thank you so very much for having me. I look forward to spending a little time with you.
I'd like to know a little bit more about your company and why you started Marketing Partners.
Oh, sure. Well, to go back enough for the foundation, I spent a career in high-end hospitality. And during those 30-plus years, I focused a lot on marketing. Now, marketing then and marketing today are two different things. But why I started Marketing Partners was actually on a bet. I was in a restaurant in Las Vegas that seemed to be just a mess. And I contacted the owner, who was a recluse, and said, you know what, I see you're trying to sell this business, but it'll never sell unless you straighten it out. So we made a bet that I could turn it around in 6 months, and I would do it on my own money. And if I did, and he sold it, we'd split the profits. Well, I did it in 4. And
oh my gosh!
And when I went to claim my bet, he said, "I'll tell you what. You're so good at marketing. Why don't we open up a marketing agency and you can do all the stuff and just send me a check?" And I said, "I can do that." And that started in 2012. So we're 5+ years old now, and I was so successful in my former career, I knew I had the confidence and the skill set to accomplish the goal that I had set out.
So tell me a little bit about niche. Marketing is an expansive area to pursue, and we start out a lot of times in marketing by having to know our niche. What does that word mean to you, and what do you think we should take away from it when we hear the word niche?
Well, there's a lot of different perspectives on niche. In my opinion, the niche has got to be the part of the market that you focus all of your passion, energy, and skills on. Now, the restaurant business, for hospitality, is a very broad niche. The restaurant business is a fraction of that overall large sector, but if you boil it down to fast food restaurants, that's an even smaller niche. And then if you focus down that on, a particular flavor of food or whatever, that's burrowing down very, very deeply into the broad niche so that you can identify the clients that are most suited for your skill set passion. It's a misnomer, and a lot of people think that if I am a photographer, for instance, and if I can do weddings and still photography and portrait photography, I'll be able to, the whole world is my customer base. Well, that's like being invisible to those people, because there are so many trying to do that without differentiation and becoming unique and targeting on a very small targeted audience that resonates with you, your message, and your marketing. You can be very successful. But that's what most people in small business who are trying to start a business don't think enough about.
It is really hard when you're starting out in business to think about the potential of turning away any possible customer or job. Why is niche so important if there is this chance that you might leave somebody out, especially in the early part of the business?
Right. Well, you see, the philosophy is counterintuitive. Yes, you may think you're leaving money on the table or business on the table by focusing on just a narrow niche, but that is what we term as a mindset of scarcity, as opposed to a mindset of abundance. There's more money floating in the economy today than in the history of the world, and there are more millionaires and billionaires in this country and around the world than there has ever been. Like a Chevy automobile, there's a huge customer base for that, and a Rolls-Royce and a Mercedes, there's a very specific customer base for that. Both get you there to where you want to go. They both have an engine. They both have tires. But what's the difference? There is a market that supports the thought of, I must have the best. And then there's the market, which is much broader, of I must have what I can afford. Shifting the mindset from scarcity to abundance is more than likely the biggest hurdle that my clients have. But once we get past that, the entire model opens up. The entire concept of niche becomes very, very evident to them. There will always be a market for a very, very specific business, service, product, what have you. And if you can control that and be different than anybody else offering that, you will succeed. You use a rifle approach as opposed to a shotgun approach. The old days where it was what I like to call spray and pray was they would mass message from Madison Avenue and so forth on radio, television. It was a broad, vague message in the hopes of attracting somebody. Today's marketing is quite the opposite. We look at who our target perfect audience is and fashion our marketing so that it magnetically attracts those people. If your messaging is correct, the person hearing it can say to themselves, he's speaking to me. I've got to find out more about this person, as opposed to sending out generic or vague marketing messages. So the more specific you can get, the more successful you can become. And that takes time and practice and training and so forth. But it's the ultimate importance, is having the right niche to reach your maximum potential.
So I need to know my niche. I need to be specific enough with the language I use within my niche so that people recognize that it is you that they are talking to. And then you as a marketer have to have a mindset that as I work in a narrower focus with a narrower niche, I actually have more abundance than should I try the broad-based, as you define it, spray and pray approach.
Correct. Here's a real-life example, and I can't remember the famous violinist's name. I believe it was Robert Bell, but I'm not positive on that name. But he's a world-renowned violinist, and a study was done, and they put Mr. Bell and his Stradivarius down in the subway in central New York in Manhattan during rush hour, and they asked him to play. And hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were there, and going here, there, and everywhere. And he played for 45 minutes to an hour, and only 4 people stopped out of the hundreds, perhaps thousands of people that went through that subway station, because his message wasn't focused on any specific market. It was just what I'll call spray and pray. And the same person the next day was playing in Carnegie Hall to a packed house, playing the same music, but it was his ideal client, his ideal customer, was there to listen to him. So it's fashioning your message at the right time to the right people with the right message.
You mentioned earlier about how marketing has changed so much in recent years. How has that affected our perception and our use of niche?
Well, it's become more and more and more important to become a specialist, being unique in a very, very narrow niche, as opposed to the way things were done, what I'll call traditional marketing, where advertising is made and it's spread across multiple media, and if it's The appliances, the ads are everywhere. If you need an appliance, you go to Sears, Home Depot, wherever it might be sold, and somebody with intelligence tells you all about it, and you make your buying decision. Well, now with the Internet, social media, and all the information that is flowing, the typical customer is now almost 70% positive they're going to work with a particular company, purchase a particular product, before they ever even make contact with them. And so that's why it's so critically important to target your market, target your message to a very, very specific market in order to attract them, because they're being bombarded with messages. And you know yourself, you get hundreds of emails a day, no doubt. Social media is all over the place. You turn on the TV, there's so much marketing messages going on that it's all white noise. It's all blurred.
Yes, turns into noise. Mm-hmm.
Right, unless the message strikes you and it resonates with you. And you then say, oh, I want to learn more about this. This person sounds like they know who I am. Let me see what else they know. And so they're developing a relationship with you, and you may not even be aware of it. So that's why niche is so important, and that's the difference between traditional marketing and magnetic marketing, which is what the law of attraction is based on, where the message resonates with a specific individual for a specific purpose.
You said earlier you're actually starting a relationship at this very, very early stage. You're cutting through the clutter, and somehow through this very specific message, because it's targeted to a very specific niche, that you are actually creating the first stages of what apparently is going to be a relationship that will carry on beyond this moment and message.
Right. Exactly.
Now, there are a lot of different people in an organization, especially if you've been in business for a while. Which person in the organization is responsible for the niche, especially choosing the niche?
From a small business standpoint, it's the person who ultimately is affected positively or negative by it. And then in most cases, that's the business owner. Now, the business owner may have delegated that to somebody else, but by and large, the person whose reputation, lifestyle, and sustainability is measured against is the person who should choose the niche. And the niche is founded on passion and profitability. If you are most passionate about a particular topic, and it is the most profitable of all the different things that you do, that should be the niche that you focus on. That's nirvana. Now, I'll give you a real-life example. This morning on one of the social sites that I was on, a woman was asking, how do I attract the right audience? I'm a health and wellness person. I really want to work with children that are obese, but yet all I do is attract 30 to 40-year-old women who want to lose weight. And that was, today, that's a real life example. And I responded to her by saying, well, you have to determine exactly who your niche is, but, your messaging is not resonating with the right audience. You've got to reposition your messaging to attract the right audience. And she doesn't mind working with women, but she really wants, her passion is working with children. And you see, so even though she's successful, her passion lies somewhere else. She could be so much more successful if she refines her positioning.
She has missed what her niche is, or is this potentially a derivation of it? Is it sometimes?
Yes. It's a little bit broader niche than what her passion truly lies in. So she would not have to adjust much in order to shift her marketing messaging from that of what must be, and I did not read any of her marketing stuff, but what must be not specific enough to resonate with those. Now, if those women had children that were obese, that would be great. But, obviously she was searching for the right answer to figure out how she can get closer to where she really wants to work.
So it's a matter of fine-tuning that message. And is that something you help people with?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I take my clients through what I'll call a mindset adjustment, and there's about 100 questions that I go through to boil down to the essence of how they think, what they think, where they think they want to go, a review of what they've been doing so far, and then we begin to build their specific market niche and the tools necessary to make them successful with that. And it has to do a lot with taking your position and moving it by way of marketing to where you want it to be, to stand out, to be unique in that very specific, narrow niche.
You can actually laser focus your message to
a
niche as you desire?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I work with service professionals, services like doctor, lawyer, plastic surgeon, dentist. I've worked with coaches before, which is a very, very broad niche, but I've moved into very specific areas now, and I'm slowly boiling those down even further so that we can custom tailor your entire brand position, your brand awareness, your marketing message, and the strategic plan with all the tactics put in place to make you, what I like to say, go from zero to hero. It may be zero clients. It may be zero revenue. It may, from a scarcity to an abundance position. And that's what I do. That's what our company does.
You mentioned that two key components to choosing a niche, that it includes passion and profitability. How do you know, based on those two criteria, that you've chosen the right niche for your organization?
Well, it starts with an evaluative process. What do you like about your industry that you work in, and what do you hate about it? What makes you angry when you hear somebody talk about your particular industry? This could be shoe salesman to a senator, lobbyist of senators or whatever. And what are you most passionate about? If you could take all of the services that you do and throw them all away except for one, which is the one that you would keep? And then I ask them, would you die for that? Is your passion that strong that you would give up your life to make sure that your passion succeeded? And if the answer is yes, you've got half of the battle done. Now, of all of the products or services that you have, which one is the most profitable? It may be that same one. It may not. It may be another one. And there's where you have to decide. Are you going to work from your passions position, or are you going to work from your profits position? I hope that everybody goes for passion, but there are people who their primary concern is focused on money. I don't particularly care for working with those types of people, but when you're in a position such as mine, and if you're working with ideal clients, you get to choose who you want to work with because they're standing in line waiting for you.
And as you mentioned, they aren't necessarily exclusive of one another. Passion versus profit isn't necessarily exclusive. Okay.
Right. See, now, in my particular case, dentists, plastic surgeons, and lawyers. I work with personal injury lawyers.
Okay.
Of those three, my passion is with plastic surgeons because it's such a specialized field, and the profitability is the strongest with them, and I'm most passionate about that. So my situation is nirvana, and that's where I'm working towards, is that one particular ultra niche. But, it takes time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go there with time. How much time does it take to hone the niche?
Well, that's one of those elusive questions that you really can't pin down. But if you remember, like as you just said, cash flow and time are interrelated. So if you've got time but no money, it'll take you a long time. If you've got money but less time, you can have people help you ramp that up and position you along with yourself. So there is an investment in all of this to get where you want to be, to live the lifestyle that you've always dreamed about. It takes an investment in time, effort, and, yes, money.
Okay.
So I can see that I see things happen anywhere from the change occurring in 90 days to where you can see the road is clearing off and you now know your clear path and things are beginning to happen for you. And it could take a year depending on how much effort or focus you put on it. So it's anywhere from 90 days to 6 months to a year, depending. I mean, a lot of it depends on my client, how much time they want to devote to it and how much money they want to devote to it.
Now, we've talked about people being very successful if they have that niche, especially if they've laser focused on it and chosen the correct niche. Are there companies out there who succeed without this? And if so, is it just a happy accident? How much of their success has been dependent upon being in the right place at the right time, or serendipity, versus actually just being able to be really good at what they do and find another way?
Well, it's all of the above. You can be at the right place at the right time and have a commodity product or a commodity service and be no different than anybody else. And sure, you could be successful. But success is measured by people in different ways. If you, let's say your goals, and that's, the other, we work on the goals as part of the foundational work. And when you have a goal of, your annual earnings being at $500,000, how much investment do you want to work at, and will that make you successful? Will you feel you're successful at that particular point, or are you happy and successful at 200,000 or 100 or 50? So it's individual in terms of what defines success, and it's a singular objective to reach.
That it's important for you to know what success is. Now, I'm not sure how you first approach clients, David. You mentioned that you focus on especially people in the service industry, ideally plastic surgeons. When you first consult with these individuals, do you ever ask them to change their niche? If so, why would you do that if what they're doing is working for them?
If what they're doing is working for them and they're happy and they feel successful, no, I wouldn't change their niche for them. I would take them through the same exercise and find out where their goals are, and are they satisfied at the level of success that they're in? And if they're fine, then they don't need my help. But typically, what happens is they'll resonate with my messaging and say, I really want to take this to the next level. What do I need to do? And questions like that, which everybody asks in any field. I'm not. I'd like to grow more. I want to put more money away for my grandchildren's college fund or whatever. What do I need to do? And so we take them through the process. But do I tell the plastic surgeon to get out of the plastic surgery business and go become a dentist? No. Do I take a plastic surgeon who works on breast augmentation and have him switch to liposuction? No. No, I won't. If they're content, they're passionate about what they do, and they're making the sufficient success level that they are, then God bless them. I'm happy for them.
When do you ask people to rethink what they're doing?
Well, there's actually 5 or 6 questions that start the analysis process. We go through an analysis of what do you like about your industry, what do you hate about it, what makes you upset when it is, are you passionate about the service that you provide, is it profitable enough, where would you be if all of these services or solutions washed away, which one would you keep, and then what kind of goals do you have? I take my clients through an exercise that says, okay, here's a spreadsheet, lay out all of your expenses as to how they exist today for your personal. And then take that same framework and say, what would it take to make your dream come true, and how much would that be? In order to reach your goal of X, you're going to need to do several things, and these are the things that I would point out to them.
It sounds like going through that process could be somewhat exhilarating.
It's a great process. It's something that I've put together. I call it the Entrepreneur's Growth Matrix System. And it's
Can you say that
actually
again just so everybody catches that?
Sure. It's the Entrepreneur's Growth Matrix, and it's a system that I use. And it's literally there's only 5 steps to it. Now, that sounds like it's pretty easy, but these are big steps. So there's a lot of work to be done. And in fact, I've got a course under the same name coming out later in October. I think the first session is scheduled for November 1st. And it's a 7-week program. The first week, you'll already have 3/4 of the foundation work, because the workbook that goes out in advance of the session, puts you through several hours worth of work. So this is not for the faint of heart. But in order to get the foundation to the root of the problem, what the goals are, and what is necessary to do it, what are the marketing strategies that are going to support your goals, and so forth. And then the final step is literally just refreshing, regurgitating, making sure that we've got it bulletproof, and then they're off to the races. But I do provide them with ongoing group coaching for as long as they want it to be. And if somebody were interested, they can reach out on social media. You can find me pretty much everywhere. My email address is david@marketingpartnersllc.com.
We've been speaking today to David Dunworth. He is the founder of Marketing Partners. And thank you, David.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.